Today, we become legends.
Smite has been around for about a decade at this point if we count alpha and beta releases. The anniversary of that is May 31st this year actually, maybe we'll see some cool in-game events around that time. And the game has been fully released for almost 8 years. Naturally, the game's assets and quality has improved over time as the technology has gotten better and high-res have gotten better at hitting the nail on the head with visual designs and skins. A base model from 2013 for example just won't hold up to one released now in terms of quality. Take Apollo as an example, comparing his old model to the new Season 9 model and you can immediately see the quality jump. So this video is going to be my personal top 15 gods that I think need a remodel. Of course, this is somewhat subjective in terms of what I like the remodels of, but I'm also going off how long they've been in the game without a remodel, the overall texture quality and animations, etc., which has some of the more objective facts to support my picks. I'm also not suggesting all of these gods be remodeled immediately because 15 is a lot, but I think these should be first in line for consideration when remodels do come up. Season 9 is dropping today as well, hopefully you guys are feeling refreshed with all the new stuff to explore. I'll be dropping meta videos and guides for the new season as soon as the meta stabilizes a little, so if you don't want to miss those, then be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you can catch every upload. But without further ado, let's jump in with my number 15 pick. So kicking off the list at number 15 we have Fenrir. As the least in need of a remodel out of the gods in this video, his base model isn't terrible, my main issue with it just lies in its age. A major texture update, especially to the fur and claws and perhaps a bit more indication of the chains that once bound him would make this model fine in my opinion. It's definitely a fixable one that doesn't require an entire remodel change in my opinion, though I do wonder what more could be done with a god like Fenrir as inspiration. So at number 14 I have Cabrakan, and for a similar reason to Fenrir, I don't mind Cabrakan's animations and rigging, he looks super imposing which he would be as the breaker of mountains, but his textures are just not holding up in 2022. His whole skin texture thing he's got going on, plus the hair is made of Play-Doh, he just feels dated. It's nothing more than that in my opinion. A simple texture update could fix this one. At number 13 we have Vulcan. So Vulcan is old, we're talking 2013 as far as I'm aware, and he's not had a single texture update since then, never mind a full remodel. That's 9 years of him being in the game trying to look like a Chad against the new models. I also feel like more could be done with the idea of Vulcan and he could look a lot more badass than he does now. That combined with his textures that just don't hold up means he takes number 13 for the list. Coming in at number 12 we have Thanatos. So this one might not be a popular one, but this is purely, I feel more can be done with Thanatos and the whole Grim Reaper design. His textures aren't great, don't get me wrong, but they're passable. My main issue here is that he just looks boring. This is definitely my personal input coming into it, but this kind of monochrome design just doesn't really do it for me, and I feel like almost any other depiction of the Grim Reaper in games has looked more exciting than Thanatos does. I mean, just take a look at some of his skins and you can see what can be done with the Grim Reaper design, but I feel like his base model just doesn't cut it anymore. Sticking with the theme, at number 11 we have Hell. So my main issue is the dark stance, to be completely honest. I think a standard texture update to modern quality on the light stance would be fine, but dark stance could have a lot more done with it and drastically needs a texture update as well, especially on the hair and the armor. There's just a lot more detail on the armor for light stance than there is for dark stance, and I think bringing up the texture quality on both while making dark stance as interesting looking as light stance, and you've got a solid Hell remodel in my opinion. Breaking into the top 10, or bottom 10 I guess, we have Thor. Whether you like it or not, Thor is a pretty significant god for Smite just in terms of how known he is in pop culture and other games and media. So while he's not the worst looking god in the game, he's not even close to the best either, and I think at the very least a texture update, perhaps even a full remodel would do great for him and allow Hi-Res to use him for more promotional material if he has a model they can be proud of showing to all the others out there that know Thor from other games and movies. It definitely could help draw people into the game and project an image of quality if they see a really badass looking depiction of Thor which they already know of, with high quality textures that you can play as in the game. At number 9 we have Bats, so pretty much the issue here is age. Granted, there isn't an infinite amount of possibilities with a god that's just a monkey, but a texture update to the whole model, especially the fur, would do him wonders. Fur and hair are two of the things that really age with some of the older gods in Smite, and Bats is a prime example, as was Fenrir from earlier. So yeah, pretty much just a texture update and maybe some more details for Hunbats. At number 8 we have a god that's actually already been updated but quite a while back and it was just a texture update. That's right, it's Artemis. She's one of the oldest gods in Smite and it really shows, especially the face and hair need complete changes, but even the armor and bow could be remodeled and made more interesting. Even just a texture update for the armor might suffice, plus we can get an all new updated model for Tusky, who doesn't want that? So at number 7 we have Amher, whose textures are just majorly dated at this point. We've talked about fur and hair before so I won't harp on it too much, but Amher looks like he's made out of half Play-Doh and half potato. Amher's animations are also super outdated and stiff, so I think an entire remodel would make sense for Amher. A texture update probably wouldn't do it for him in my view. So at number 6 is one I don't see a lot of people talk about for a remodel, but I think he really needs it, and that's Chronos. His base model just looks kind of bad in terms of texture quality, and I don't know how he isn't discussed more for a remodel. He released in mid-2013, and the only skin worse than his base model is Super Chronos 64, but at least that one intends to look outdated. The base model and animations aren't too bad though. I would like to see a bit more flash on his ult too, but to be honest, Chronos just needs a texture update, and I think he'd be fine. At number 5, we have Zhongqiu, another god from 2013 that really badly needs some updated textures and probably a remodel. He still holds a lot of the weird poses and a lot of the janky animations of a 2013 god that simply aren't there in more modern designs, and I think bringing him up to that standard absolutely makes sense 9 years after his release. So at number 4, we have a god that's commonly joked to be a minion, Mercury. The idea is that Mercury looks so dull and uninteresting that he looks like a minion and not a god. Of course, Mercury is meant to be a bit whimsical and can't be wearing tons of detailed armor or anything like that because he's gotta go fast, but updated clothing and animations is definitely needed for this guy, if not a full remodel. Breaking into the top 3, we have Janus, another one that seemingly not a lot of people bring up for a remodel, but I think really needs one. He was released in 2014 and his base model is just nowhere close to the quality of modern day gods and remodeled ones. I also feel like more detail is needed and Janus looks a bit plain in his current iteration. A lot of his skins fix this issue and look great, but the base model definitely needs a texture update and potentially a remodel. At number 2, we have one that I'm sure many of you called for yourselves at this point, and that's Neath. Somehow Neath has dodged the remodel lottery, but I doubt she will continue to do so forever. She looks very bland and her textures are so outdated, even more so than some of the gods that have already been remodeled recently, but she still persists without one. Other depictions of Neath, like in the lore comics or cinematics, look far better, and it puts shame to the actual in-game model, to be honest. It needs an update, badly. And finally, my number 1 god for a remodel is Cupid. This guy just looks beyond silly, and I know the idea is he's a less serious design, but it goes even beyond that. You can keep the idea of a design that doesn't take itself too seriously while also having a high quality model. Just look at the Tomb Cthulhu skin, for example. Cupid is one of the oldest gods in Smite, released only a few months after the original 17 back in 2012. In a few months, Cupid will have been released for a decade, and it really shows. In my opinion, he should be next in line for a remodel alongside Neath. These top 2 are really quite a bit above the rest in the list in terms of how much they need that remodel. But that's it from me. If you have any other gods you think need a remodel, definitely leave those down below in the comments to see what the community thinks compared to me. Don't forget to drop a like before you leave, and I'll catch you guys in another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.